Welcome to my podcast. My name is Corrinala, and I come to you from the Pacific Northwest, where I live with my husband, 2 horses that I adopted from the Bureau of Land Management Wildhorse Adoption Program, and 2 kitties we adopted from the local animal shelter. Information about these adoption programs will be in the show notes for every episode. The purpose of this podcast is to share real-life stories that hopefully are relatable to other crafters who might be interested in horses. The format of this podcast starts with a walk to the barn to feed the horses, catch up on the week, share my knitting projects, and other interests like bicycling or hiking. I also talk about vegetable gardening and cooking. I hope you bring your favorite beverage and a fun, crafty project to work on. Enjoy! Good morning, friends. Welcome to another episode. It is Friday morning, May 22nd. It's going to be, I think, kind of a summery day for us, which is awesome. We are on the journey out to the barn. First, we have to go to the pump house, turn the water on. I have to pick up a package that was delivered last night from Chewy. Do any of you order from Chewy? I'm not sponsored by them. I'm not sponsored by anyone, but they provide us regular shipments of the prescriptive cat food we get and other items. So I'm going to do that right now, and then we'll catch up on the knitting and others. Okay, package is secure. You can see that the truck and trailer has been moved. Sorry, I'm trying to get the sun out of there, but we had our propane tank for the house switched out, and they needed access to that side of the driveway. So that's just a little bit of a life update. What else is going on? I don't have a finished object for you yet, but I am so close on the Traveler hooded sweater pullover. So I will show you that. I made a little progress on the sock arms pullover, and I think I've knitted a couple more squares in my blanket. So overall productive week knitting wise. Horse wise, Odin had too much fun out in the pasture. Now he has a sore hind leg, so we've had to pause on the PT sessions with him, which I don't think he minds too much. Bragi didn't go to his clinic last week, so he got the week off and just practiced putting his halter on. Well, good morning. Oh, I don't know if you heard that. Putting his halter on to go out to pasture, which, you know, quite honestly, he's pretty enthusiastic about that. I mean, who wouldn't be? My trainer's coming today, so I'm not sure what we're going to work on, but I'm going to get to feeding. We'll catch up soon. Hello, friends. Welcome to the knitting portion of this podcast. Let's start with what I'm wearing. This is the Flipside Tee by Tanis Lavalee. I do have a tank top underneath it because the tank top's what I'm going to wear to my riding lesson later today. So this is made from 3 different skeins of yarn. This very colorful was given to me by my mom. It's a hand-dyed yarn that she bought, I think, in Idaho. And then the other 2, including this ribbed neckline, which is one of the ways I modified this pattern. I added some ribbing to the neckline. I think it starts out just casting on and then knitting in the round, which I found that kind of difficult. So I thought some ribbing would be nice, because there's usually ribbing on sleeves and the bottom. So I knit it in stripes, And this was before I understood fading. So I think what I would have done differently, what would have been the good way to highlight this yarn? I don't know that I would have used the gray. I would have used the purple, and the purple and the gray are both knit picks, I think. I'm pretty sure they're both knit picks. I don't remember if it's stroll or gloss. So to highlight this yarn, it might have made sense to do the ribbing the way I did with this dark color, and then started on this variegated color and then faded maybe to the purple in at the bottom. And that probably would have been enough yarn. I don't have, I do have my project page up, and I do, so I can tell you what yarn it actually is. It's gloss. So I used one skein, which is 220 yards. So that's 50 grams. So I think this would have used the skein of hand dyed and then one skein of the gloss. I think the gray is actually a different, oh yeah, the gray was a different, and I don't even remember what it was. I just know where I got it. So anyway, all that to say, that's how I would do this project now. But let's take a dive into the whips, because I pulled out all of my whips. And first, let's start with the this bag made by my mom with the little black kitties that look like, suspiciously like, or coincidentally like Herbert and Harley when they're being silly kitties. So I only have a couple more rows on this massive traveler sweater. So where was I last week? Was I still working on a sleeve? It's entirely possible I was working on a sleeve. So both sleeves are done. The hood is nearly done. I think this has turned out really well with this rust colored yarn. It's hard to hold up. So here, I don't know how to hold this up. So let me see if I can sort of wear it and show you. So here is the hood. So I just finished the short row shaping, and I'm just doing the edging of it. So I'm going to pick up stitches here, and then I think I go back around the other way, and then there is an I-cord string, and then I do kind of a little edging around it so that the string, which I will probably never tighten, will go around it. How much yarn do I have left? This is what I have left for this ball of yarn. This was, I believe, a 50-gram skein of Cascade 220. And then I have a ball left where, so I have this much left. So I will have plenty of yarn. I can safely say that now, because I have been saying all along I have plenty of yarn, and then I don't. So here is what I have done on the I-cord piece of it. So far, that's what that looks like. And then it's entirely possible I'll have to dig into this for the edging around the hood. But let me show you the back, because as part of the, oh, I have plenty of yarn, but I don't, I ended up doing part of the back in this rust color. And I think since the hood goes back here, I really think it's okay. So the sleeves and the ribbing are in this rust colored yarn, and then the body is in this variegated yarn, which is also Cascade 220, and I think I'm going to love this. I may get to wear it once, perhaps, maybe in the morning. I don't know. Last week we sort of had winter again. It rained quite a bit. This week it's been more summery, so who knows? It's kind of typical spring weather. So excuse me, I've been working on this almost exclusive. Well, no, that's a lie, isn't it? Because I told you this morning I did work a little bit on the sock arm sweater and also on the blanket. So, but really, for the most of the time, this has been my sole project. And if I didn't say so before, the pattern is by Andrea Mowry, and it's great. It uses a ton of yarn. So just bear that in mind. But hopefully we'll get to put this one to bed, and then I can work on the rest of my whips. And this is for a knit-along, by the way. This was a knit-along that Andrea Mowry is hosting. It's almost over, and I should finish it. But let's talk about sock arms. So this is in a bag made by my husband with his industrial sewing machine. And this one is getting close too. So I'm on the second sleeve. Let me see. I have it's about a third done, I would say. Goodness gracious. So the body, this is oversized, which is not normally my preference. And there is definitely a color difference, even though this is the same colorway. So I'm not going to worry about it at this stage. This is Knit Picks gloss. Is it gloss? I think it's gloss. Yes, it's gloss in the colorway Clarity. And I ended up having to buy another ball of yarn, even though it's in the same dye lot and is that what I want to say? Yeah, I think so. It obviously, it came out a little different. So, again, I'm not going to worry about it. It's going to be oversized, so it is going to be rumpled, and that's fine. This is supposed to be a cardigan, but I decided to join it, and I am going to do the ribbing so that it hopefully overlaps a little bit like a cardigan would. So a little bit of V-neck, and this colorway is Jeepers Creepers by Freckled Whimsey. So excited about finishing this project as well. You know, I've said this before in other episodes. It is, you know, you work on the same whips for week after week after week, and then all of a sudden they're done. This pattern is by Stephanie Lotven, and it's in this book, Knit Happy with Self-Striping Yarn. This is the fourth project, so there are mittens, shawls, and sweaters and cowls in this book. So I've knit, this is the third sweater. Yeah, the third, no, I've made 4 garments out of it. So I've made 2 of the same, and then 1 other tee, and then this one is the first long sleeve one that I have done. One of them is 3/4 length, so it doesn't quite count. I hope you have something nice to drink. I'm still working on tea. It is Memorial Day weekend, and I'm wondering how you all observe Memorial Day. I mean, with my dad passing earlier this year, I would potentially think about going up and visiting his grave. There still is no gravestone yet, or headstone yet, which is bothersome, but it's just been, everything's been really slow. There's been a lot of transitions with staff at the company that makes the headstones, so, you know, we just have to wait. So the funeral home has been in contact with them, and they're saying soon we should at least have a mock-up. So we have a mock-up. Hopefully, I mean, what I want is it to be in place for the celebration of life that is going to happen in September. So that was a little grumble, but it just is. So I'm not going to worry too much about it. So I am on the 4th stripe. I am, this is the 100 Acre wood blanket. So I only have 2 more squares left, and I don't have the second to the last for this stripe cast on yet, although the colorway just fell out of my bag, is from a row 1 mini. So that's going to be fun to go in there. So I've been a little bit intentional about how I pick colors. I mean, I kind of want them to have something in common with the colors they're being attached to. So let me see if I can hold this. So this one will be attached to the green and the purple. These are Addie's Flexi Flips in 2.75. I don't think I've talked about the needles. And so I think that'll go just fine there. The other needles that I were Chowgu red lace and US size 4. So project pages are in the show notes if you are interested. So I've been having a lot of fun with this blanket. Actually, I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with it because it is sock yarn for the most part. Some of it's non-superwash wool, and it needs to stay away from the cats because apparently the cat's predator instinct kicks in when they smell the wool. They don't bother cotton or acrylic, which of course, but wool they will tend to eat. So what else am I working on? Or not working on, I should say. So this is where the deep dive goes into whips. So you've seen this before. I just haven't worked on it in a while. This is a bag also made by my mom. This one's quilted, and this is also for a knit-along, a summer knit-along hosted by the Love and Stitches Knitty Natties membership. And this is a tee. The pattern is by Rebecca Clow, C-L-O-W, and this is called the Staffin vest. So it's a short sleeve tee, and it's knit in pieces. This should be the front. And this is the same yarn I used to crochet my wedding shawl. So it's a pretty pattern, so you can see the diamonds. That's fun. I'm using Chowgu red lace, probably size 4. No, I'm not. I'm using, well, these are Addie's, but there's needles in them. So these must be the ribbing needles. Oh, here we go. Chowgu red lace, US size 6. So 4mm. And I'm using, what I have are these cones of this DK merino cashmere yarn. So I'm looking forward to getting back on track with this. So it was going pretty swimmingly until I stopped to finish up the Traveler. So hopefully I can get going on this again. The sock arm sweater, you know, I'm getting antsy about finishing because it's so close. However, it's not a priority. So, and I probably won't wear it because we are getting into summertime garment weather. So what else am I working on? So all this, the sock knit-alongs are going to start soon. If you follow Crazy Sock Lady, she hosts Summer Sock Camp, and that is starting on Monday. I confess I ordered the yarn for that. It's a really pretty pink, yellow, and blue, and she has a pattern that she is going to release on Monday. I don't know if I'm going to knit that or if I am going to knit a sock out of this bag that holds, made by my mom, drawstring bag. This book is Summer Lee, so a listener and friend gave this to me, and one I am working, well, that's not exactly true. I started a pair of socks here, and I'll show you those in a minute. I want to say these are called something like Cider House socks or something like that, but maybe they are not in this book. So let me share. So they are a 3-color sock. So, you know, and I could be thinking of the wrong pattern designer as well. I was pretty sure they were in here, but I'm not seeing them. So I am working on the Surf Wax socks currently. And this is what they look like. I am using self-striping yarn. I haven't been completely in love with this project, so, but I do have one sock finished. Look at that. So here's what they look like. So one of the reasons why I wanted to dig this out and share with you is because I wanted to just kind of get an idea of where I was with things. So look, I'm working on the cuff of the second sock. So this is Freckled Whimsey. This is a repurposed yarn, which is why it looks like ramen. So I knit a pair of socks out of this, and they didn't match. Not color-wise, but like lengthwise or something. So I was like, well, phooey, I will do something else. So self-striping yarn tends to lend itself to many patterns. So that's what I'm doing with these. So, you know, who knows? I'll have to see where I am on my next pair of socks. So I'm using Chogu Red Lace. I'm using the 9-inch circulars. I am not exactly sure what size these are. So let's see if I put it on my project page. So projects. Surf Wax. I'm using the 2.5 millimeter size of those. So that's where I'm at with those. So during summer sock camp, one of my goals is to finish my unfinished socks. Undoubtedly cast on more. So during summer stitching, which is a Bakery Bears hosted event. I'm not sure it's for patrons only or not. It could be. If you are a fan of Bakery Bears or Bakery Bear, I should say, although she still goes by Bakery Bears. All that to say, if you follow them on YouTube but aren't at a patron, maybe you don't know what I'm talking about. And if you don't, please let me know, because I would like to be able to clarify that. But she has a summer of stitching, and she releases a sock pattern for that. So that's another thing that I want to do. How am I going to do all this? Well, you know, once I get garments out of the way, it will probably help. Here's another one you haven't seen in a while. This is in a bag also made by my mom. Another simple drawstring bag. I was with her when she bought this fabric in Door County at Sturgeon Bay, the town of Sturgeon Bay in Wisconsin, which is north of Green Bay, and it's on Lake Michigan. So, joyful colorwork socks. I admit, I am not finding these particularly joyful. I am knitting the pair of socks that's on the cover. I find them a little bit stressful. I did finish one sock. They're very cute. I mean, I think they're super joyful afterwards, but knitting with them is hard. I love color work. What I find difficult is that in some cases you're managing 3 strands, and I have managed to do that. And, but then I started working on other things. So I am using Chogu Red Lace. So I got this little set of needles, the 9-inch circular. Let me show that properly. And I also use these Chogu size 1, 2.25 millimeter for the toe, because these socks don't lend themselves well to, or these needles, I should say, the short 9-inch circulars don't lend themselves well to, here they are, to decreases. So I'm still on the cuff. So here's another example of a sock that is still on the cuff stage. So I'm using basically scrap yarn. This is a pretty heavy duty yarn which I don't know that I would do that again. It would work well for the heel, but I forgot to cut that in, the first sock. And this is a West Yorkshire Spinners colorway, so that Harley got a hold of. So it still is behaving, but it just looks pretty messy. So I'm definitely going to have leftovers from that. And I am using scraps for the colorway parts. So let me show you those. So this is my bag of scraps. So including some self-striping and speckly and other yarns and it's working well. So I will have some fun with that. So that's another one I plan to finish during summer sock camp. So that's how I am doing summer sock camp, is by finishing up whips, and then of course starting some with the yarn set that I'm getting. That's for summer sock camp by the Crazy Sock Lady. I was trying to, Mama Jess is the yarn dyer, so I'll let you know when I get that yarn. So right now the plan is to cast on 2 pairs of socks, which means finishing another pair of socks. It's in this bag. This is the first project bag that my mom made. It's quilted, it's zippered. It is all the things. So I really love this bag. She has since started making me drawstring bags because I complained about getting the zipper caught, or the yarn caught in the zipper, and well, that's a problem. So, but I could be more careful. I am zipper challenged, I have to admit. Sometimes I have to have someone else zip up or unzip my jacket. So this is Lemontop socks made, or patterned by Kay Jones. The yarn, so you can see it's kind of a swirl. The yarn is by Freckled Whimsey, and this is Phoenix Tears with its matching contrast color. Matching contrast, that doesn't make sense. So I did the heel just in the yarn. I didn't switch out, and I may do the toe in this contrast color, but I love this colorway, and the pattern's fun too. It's pretty easy. It's just I've been prioritizing other things. I'm using Chuggy Red Lace needles, and these are probably size 0. Yes. So those are the things that I plan to finish once I finish my other things, right? So I have 2 more things to show you, things that have been in. Okay. This is just some leftover yarn. This is I made a Norwegian red hat out of this, and this is called Resist, and it's by Legacy Fiber Arts. I may make another one. I am not sure. But look, there's some needles in here. How about that? No wonder I can't find my needles. But these are US size 5. So this is also in part discovery of what is in these bags. So, you know, when these get set aside, I can use the needles for something else. And the clicker. I mean, that was the other thing. Is like I have been kind of short on row counters. And what else? And then my final one is in this bag, also made by my mom. This one's lined and drawstring with this pretty ribbon. And this, not really sure what I was going to do with this, but you know, look at this yarn. Who is this yarn? I feel like this is Brooklyn Tweed. That's what it feels like. Yes, it is called Tones Lite. It's American Columbia wool, and it's called Baseline. But you know, I'm kind of working on something, but not very enthusiastically apparently. So I think I'm just going to put this away. And what I do have are these Pacific Knit Co. doodles. So I have the doodle cards from this ocean set, and then also this kitty cats. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do with those yet, but what I want to do is put this yarn back in Stash and figure out what I want to do with it. So that's the knitting stuff. Thanks for hanging with me. That was a long time to talk about knitting, but that's presumably why you're here. I know that some of you who stay also like to talk about horses, so I can talk about last weekend. I mentioned briefly that Bragi was supposed to go to a clinic, but when my trainer was watching one of her clients have a private lesson with this clinician, she said, no, this is not the clinician for Bragi. So we canceled, and I was able to sign up for a biomechanics clinic at the facility that I take my Friday afternoon writing lessons. And it was really great. Learned a lot about position and the way that your tailbone interacts with the horse's spine and what ways it can help make you stable in the saddle or unstable, and also communicates to the horse. So that was really interesting. So we had the initial part was in the classroom, just talking about like our skeletal structure. It was all ages. So there were 11 and 12-year-old girls, and the oldest person in a class told me she was 73. So yay. And then after that, that was one of the days it was pouring down rain. So I was completely layered up, and I got to use my new riding rain jacket that I bought on an end of season sale, and was hoping I wouldn't have to use until this winter. But frankly, we needed the rain. So I wore it, and it was great. I didn't need to wear it while I was riding because the riding part was actually undercover. So that was great. I just had to wear it like between buildings. So that was great. I learned a lot. One of my classmates took a video of me going around and around with my arms out and being in the saddle with my instructor. So maybe I'll put that in the end if you are interested in seeing that. And what I want you to notice from that, if you do stay that long, is how solid my lower leg is on the horse. So the horse's name is Ember. She's a lovely thoroughbred mare that I enjoy riding very much. I think that is pretty much it. That's for activities last week. Of course, I worked all week. I did not sleep at all Wednesday night for whatever reason. So I took yesterday off and just basically had a very slow day. I had a headache all day from not sleeping. And of course I couldn't take a nap. Who does that when they're middle-aged and older? So I knit a lot. I started getting some energy around noon, so I was able to take care of some things I needed to take care of. I did end up having to attend a meeting yesterday, but I rallied for that. It was very worthwhile, and I'm glad I did that. And then I slept great last night. Worked a little bit this morning, something that needed my attention. And then today I get to again have pretty much a horsey day, and tomorrow we're having a barbecue with Randy's family, his sister and brother-in-law and niece and her boyfriend. So that'll be fun. What else is going on? What else did I want to say? Just about Bragi. I mentioned that, I'd been working on putting Bragi's halter on, and he has been doing it with a certain amount of enthusiasm now that he understands that he puts his halter on and he gets to go out in the pasture. Great. He is also, I think a lot of his, what appears to be lack of cooperation, his flightiness, his being afraid of everything. I think it's a message about he is uncomfortable about something. He's uncomfortable in his own skin. He's allergic to everything. So I talked to my veterinarian before last weekend, and it was based on a suggestion that I learned from the barn that I ride at, because they have itchy horses, and a trainer was telling me different strategies that they use. And one of them that seems to work well, and I checked with my vet, is that you can use an over-the-counter allergy medicine. I get it from Costco. My vet confirmed it, said, yeah, try it, you can do it. And it's called Allertech. So Bragi gets basically 15 pills a day, or at each meal. He gets 2 meals a day. And it seems to be helping him. So some of the other bug stuff that I was giving him, I think it was actually making it worse. So of course he's crabby and upset and don't touch me and I'm afraid of everything. You know, a lot of the way that horses communicate isn't, they can't tell you, you know, this is making me worse, what you're doing to me. Every time you put this stuff on me, it hurts worse or itches worse or whatever. So I am using a combination of diaper cream, which, you know, puts a pretty solid barrier between skin and external things. The Allertech pills and some fly spray, and then some other type of spray, like shielding stuff. And he seems like he's been pretty content. I mean, I that's not an absolute, because this is Bragi we're talking about, and what's working today and the last few days might not work tomorrow. So we'll find out. Moving forward with Bragi, I'm not really sure what we're going to prep for. We don't have any solid plans. I would like to focus on my own riding, which is at a different facility. So I need to have that discussion with my trainer, you know, what's fair for her and what I can continue to do, what's fair for Bragi. Odin is just still on this long path of rehab from arthritis. I hope to start riding him again eventually. But, you know, he was goofing around the pasture. He hurt himself. I noticed it after I was doing a session, you know, one of his normal 10-minute sessions. And I was like, wow, he just isn't quite the same. And I noticed he was kind of holding up his left hind. And I was like, well, that's weird. And I also noticed when I turned him out, he wasn't running around anymore. So in the same conversation with my vet about Bragi, I brought up Odin, and she said, okay, well, let him have a few days off and see how he is. So I'm going to let him have the whole weekend off. We'll try again next week. And yesterday I turned him out and I noticed that he started to think about, oh, I want to run and buck and play. And he caught himself. So which tells me it probably still hurts. So I think we're going to have to take a next step with Odin, which probably means some sort of injection that is going to help his arthritis. So I'll talk to my vet about that next month and see where we're at with that. So that's horsemanship stuff. That's weekend stuff. Last weekend, Randy and I went on a long bike ride. I think it ended up being about 26 miles. It was really great. So hopefully we'll get to do that again this weekend. I think that's all we have planned. So I hope you have a good weekend. I hope you keep those who have gone before you in your thoughts. And if you can visit, that's great. If you can't or don't want to, you know, I am not going to judge. Totally not going to judge. So do what you need to do to take care of yourself. And I hope you get to spend it in the way that you want to. So see you next time. Take care, everyone.